And him, Michael Malta, the king of pot, KOP. Don't forget again, go to his website. I did repeat that. I don't want to repeat it again. If you want me to, I'm going to repeat it again to you. Okay? www.kopproductions.com. You understand what I mean?
Hi, Mike. This is Kristen Imhoff. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to thank you for having me on the show to speak on behalf of my dad, Michael Malta, known to many in the movement as the King of Pot. I also want to thank you for campaigning for him and keeping his name alive since his death almost a decade later.
And I want to thank all you guys for supporting me over the years, that's for sure. It's, you know, one person that made it happen in the Boston area for me was Mike Cannon. If it wasn't for him, you guys wouldn't have probably known of me because I was doing a lot of shit nationally and he didn't even know of me. And you already know that story, but I hope to be able to do a lot more with him in the future. And I hope now that my new life brings on things that I could help people like himself and people like other people I have in my life that are very, very close to me. So with that, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Mike Can say, you know, my farewell to my company on video here. I don't know what else to say except that it's been a long run. It's been a long run, folks, man. But KOP's going somewhere great. In fact, I got a funny story I want to tell you. Let me just bounce out of all the sentimentality here. Let's get back to who I am. Who am I? I'm the King of Pot. I'm going to tell you what I did.
Welcome to the show, Mike Crawford. Big show tonight. Very excited. I'm very happy to see that Michael Malta, 9.5, almost 10 years since he died in 2013, nominated for Lifetime Achievement at the New England Cannabis Awards. That just made my week, man. Yeah. And I'm up there with him. It's him and I. It's like can't ask for more. It's just amazing. I am so happy for him, his family, his kids, his grandkids. He's got grandkids now. We're gonna do a little bit of a tribute tonight to him. We got some audio. You heard a little bit of it from his daughter she sent us last night a voicemail at like 4 a.m. At work. Told us a little story. We're going to play the story, her message for you tonight and what she thinks about this Lifetime Achievement. And we're going to play more of that video. That was Michael Malta. I'm going to talk about how that video came to be, what he was doing in his life, because I think it's very important to talk about him tonight. And the history. I think a lot of you jokers out there don't know your history. He's part of the history. And also there's been some controversy too tonight. Just break it out. It's funny. The king of transparency doesn't want to be very transparent because when I ask him questions, he doesn't respond. But tonight he's throwing barbs at us, which is funny. This is my former protege, Grant Smith. He's accusing me of sock puppetry on Twitter, like I would ever do that. If I have something to say, I say it right on the show. I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight. And whoever is running the sock puppet account, I hope they're tweeting right now while I'm live on the air, because you can see I'm not tweeting. It's not me, dude. You're so dumb. I think he knows who it is, too. And this is the problem, the pattern with Grant. He's dishonest. He apologized earlier to us in private. I have the screen captures. I've actually shared that. Not afraid to share dirt about Grant Smith. We got a picture of him with Kim from True Leaf. Best buddy. We'll talk a lot more about that tonight too, baby. But good vibes, KOP, lifetime achievement. Want you to vote for him. We're going to do a tribute to him tonight. But we also have something important, part of the mission, what we do here. For workers, Verano Cannabis Establishment is refusing the voluntary recognition of UFCW 1445. And this is on our ongoing coverage that we're going to be doing of multi-state operators, including Curaleaf. See, I'm fair, too, because Grant Smith broke a big story today, which I'd rather talk about that. But it's unfortunate. I can't even trust his reporting. I have to like confirm everything because I can't. He gets so crazy on stuff that when he actually does something good, we have to double check it. So very interesting about Curaleaf today. We'll probably talk about that too. Something positive Grant did today. But we're covering all the MSOs. Verano Cannabis Establishment is refusing the voluntary recognition of UFCW Local 1445. That was the press release that came out this week. We have a UFCW representative with us tonight. We also, oh, perfect. I just realized what was wrong with my headphones. All right, cool. You know what it is? My girlfriend and I switch over, and I forgot to switch it back, but now I'm good. But we definitely have a UFCW 1445 representative here tonight that we're going to speak to, Maddie. She's waiting patiently. We're going to bring her up right now. We may have maybe an ex-employee from Verano calling in. We'll see if that happens. We also have statements that I'm going to read from employees at Verano Cannabis. This is an establishment in Sharon, Massachusetts. Verano owns many brands. One of them that people know is the Zen Leaf dispensary brand. Also MUV or Move. I don't know what they call it, but it's MUV. They have a lot of different products, but this is a Sharon, Massachusetts cultivation site. We've been hearing things not good there, not safe. This is another candidate that the OSHA should be looking into. Hopefully we'll get more information about that, but I'm hearing mold. So let's bring up Maddie up and see what she's got to say about this situation. We also know that people are being fired, and this is industry-wide. The price of cannabis has dropped. A lot of these MSOs are treating people poorly, and they're threatening to fire them, and in often cases, they are firing them. And sometimes it's unjust and false, and we're going to read some statements about that tonight as well. And this is happening nationwide. You're seeing different dispensary chains like True Leaf being sued by employees for just that. True Leaf and Curaleaf have a number of employee lawsuits against them. This is what we're dealing with in this industry. So we're going to bring up Maddie and talk about the real stuff tonight and not the tinfoil accusations at us backed by no basis of fact. Maddie, what's going on? Hello.
Hello. So we received a call from someone on the inside over at Verano. We had been kind of like looking around over there around like September. No one seemed to be interested. So, we decided to, kind of just leave them alone. Like, if and when they come to the conclusion that they would like to organize a union, totally leaving the door open for them, putting it in their court. And, like right before Christmas, I received a phone call from someone saying, "Hey, like it's getting really bad in here. I would like to get this started." So, within a month, we were able to speak to pretty much everyone there, and they were like the majority were on board. We had asked for what we call a card check, and they refused. The company refused. So then we had to file with the state, with the Department of Labor Relations, and with the federal National Labor Relations Board. So they're not playing fair and they're not playing nice. And we have contracts with them across the country. And for whatever reason, they've decided that Massachusetts is not the one.
And I understand there's been some people fired recently. I have some statements.
Yeah.
I mean, are you aware of that? Have they been firing people and kind of using that fear of getting fired to try to break this union push right now?
Yeah, absolutely. They 100% have been. I am firmly in the belief that they would have been firing these people for being outspoken even if we weren't there. There's been some internal things that have been happening. This is not like a new thing for them, where people hear rumors about themselves being fired like a week before they actually are. They just clearly have favorites, and if you're not a favorite, then you are at like a real risk of being fired if you even so much as like not say bless you when someone sneezes.
I'm going to read a statement from a Verano employee. This is a quote, anonymous quote from a recently fired employee at Verano Brands. They say the biggest frustration about being fired was the way it was handled, because I was very blindsided, and just kind of the simple fact that my paperwork said that I didn't change my behavior after a final written warning. But in the entire year and a half that I worked there, I didn't receive one warning. I was wrongfully terminated. My actual statements to HR were ignored, and new ones were made up. So again, this is like horrible. How do you treat someone like that? They weren't written up ever, and then you fire them with paperwork saying that they were written up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what we hear all the time in this industry. It's just awful. Like, I don't get it. I mean, is this something that you're hearing quite a bit at Verano
It's something
Brands?
I experienced on my own back in 2019 when UFCW originally started organizing Sierra Naturals. I worked there. I was part of the organizing effort from the inside, and thankfully they had something called a labor peace agreement, so it wasn't nearly as bloody of a battle. But some people there went rogue. Some managers went rogue there, and they didn't play nice. They tried to silence the talk. They tried to make it very difficult to have conversations, even on like breaks. Like they said that we can only talk about it outside or in the break room. Can't be in the halls, can't be in the locker room, can't be in the wherever. So, there's a real big effort to not organize. And before working in cannabis, I had never worked under a union before, and seeing the difference made me a real believer that cannabis needs it, because it's the wild west out here. Like they do not care. It's on par with Amazon or Walmart with how much they just do not care about the people that work there. We saw it with the death of Lorna McMurray, where they tried to cover it up. They tried to blame her. They continuously ignore the fact that they allowed someone to get to a point where they died working in an industry that you should be able to make a career out of and die from.
Absolutely. I want to ask you about what, because you've been talking to the employees of Verano Brands, and most of them have signed up for the union. What are their reasons? Why do they tell you that they're interested in unionizing with UFCW 1445?
Safety is a really big one. The ladders are not tall enough, so people who are, of average height or even a little bit taller, they are having to stand on the top of a ladder to reach the plants. Up until recently, they were not given proper PPE. They were not given those particle masks that are so important for working with live plants, especially in post-harvest, where they're doing trimming and making joints and things like that. There's an issue with pay. There's an issue with favoritism, feeling like they're not being heard, like they're being ignored. People are being just everything that we've been talking about since the dawn of time, when it comes to cannabis coming into legal fruition in Massachusetts and across the country. Just not caring, just seeing people as bodies instead of as people. And
have you heard about them talking about Lorna? I'm wondering if that's also something that's on you brought Lorna up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that they're worried about? They're talking about?
Yeah, it is. I am 27. I am as old as Lorna will be forever. And that is something that I think about a lot.
Oh.
When I was working at Sierra, when I was working in cannabis, that was the joke that we all made was, you know, in 5, 10 years, there's going to be a documentary, an expose about this. And, you know, we're going to see those. If you or a loved one worked in cannabis, you may be entitled to financial compensation. And we joked about it, but that was a real fear. And that is a real fear. You know, when I brought up Lorna saying, like, you know, are you afraid of that happening to you? Multiple people came to me and said, I now use an inhaler and I never used an inhaler before. I feel awful. My skin looks terrible. I am sick all the time. Can't I can't eat. I, you know, can only drink water and like very basic things. Like their health is deteriorating because they were not provided with proper PPE. And that's a really serious problem across cannabis.
Now, we started a petition September 1st. I know you were helping us. You signed it,
Yep.
promoted it.
I did.
We've got a number of signatures on it now. This week or last week, yeah, I don't even forget. It's a few days ago, not very long ago. Cannabis Control Commission had that hearing, and they basically, you know, laid it down for an hour for the first time, just, you know, discussing safety and, you know, basically a lot of what we were asking for in the petition. What do you think about that? Do you think that they'll do anything from here? Do you think it's just talk, or do you think they're actually going to take action? Are you happy about the progress there?
I have very mixed feelings about it. It was never a secret that cannabis was unsafe. It was never a secret that they were taking shortcuts. It was never a secret that people were getting sick and they were developing things like asthma and needing inhalers and needing nebulizers and things like that. It is not a secret. It has not been a secret. People have been talking about it for how long has cannabis been legal in Massachusetts now? They've been talking about it pretty much the entire time.
We did our first story in 2018. So that's what, 5 years now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least 5 years, if not longer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a topic of conversation for half a decade, maybe more, probably more, most likely more. And it took the death of someone who had their entire life in front of them for this conversation to happen, which is deplorable, honestly. So I'm glad the conversation is happening. I'm really upset and really honestly personally offended and insulted, which is very difficult to do, that they would wait until it took someone to die to have this conversation. I'm glad it's happening, and I hope that it doesn't end at a conversation. I hope it ends in action.
Exactly.
And
that's the key, because like nothing was done at that meeting, but they're talking about some of the things. I'm excited by it, but I agree 100%. I mean, part of me, and it's, you know, most of those individuals on that board, the 5 of them are mostly new. Like even I think the longest one has probably been there a year. So like, you know, it's weird on the commissioners, because I feel like, you know, they're the first crew of commissioners that actually have brought it up. Like, but like you said, someone had died. So, I mean, that's, but to me, it's the executives who have been there for 5 years. You know, they're not appointed. They're the ones who are running the one. And I could feel that they're kind of on the hot seat. And I feel like they should be thankful of the commissioners, like, because that executive, he needed to speak. Like he hasn't, his whole problem is he's been turtling, in my opinion. You know, like they need to be upfront and open. And so, you know, this is interesting. You know, we'll see what happens. I'll also want to ask about OSHA, because OSHA, again, 5 years ago when Ann Hassel filed the first complaint that we knew of, that we covered in 2008 against New England Treatment Access, we called OSHA and talked to them. And their first response was like, yo, cannabis is illegal. We can't help. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're legal workers. Give me a break. And they actually had to do something. They, you know, they required NETA to respond in writing, and, you know, really BS. Nothing happened. But at least it was in writing. And then later NETA really looked foolish when they were changing their story all over the place. So there was a lot of good stuff that came about, even though nothing happened with that OSHA report. But now we go forward here this year where OSHA actually did fine True Leaf. It was originally 40 some odd dollars. True Leaf contested it, cut it into half, made a compromise. It's like 20 some thousand dollars, plus they have to fund a study of the risks, and basically that True Leaf runs it themselves. A lot of the family members were disgusted, by the low amount, and that her life was worth $22,000, I think it was. I mean, how do you feel about how OSHA's handling it? And how do you feel about the Cannabis Control Commission, who had an investigation going of True Leaf that started before Lorna died? So it's been over a year. OSHA actually has come to a conclusion with True Leaf and fined them. At least they've done something. And Cannabis Control Commission still has a wide open investigation. We don't know anything about it. We don't know what it's about, when it's going to end. What do you think about all of that with OSHA and the CCC and the investigation of True Leaf?
I'm not surprised. It's the government, and not to put on a tinfoil type deal of the government, but we all know that they're going to drag their feet. And I'd say it's pretty clear cut, especially because it's all on camera. It's pretty clear cut what happened. I'm really disgusted that if I had been in Lorna's situation, if I had died like Lorna did, they would have told my family, they would have told my father, they would have told my mother and my sister that it was worth only $22,000. And to them, I am priceless. And there is no amount of money to make it right, but there is absolutely a wrong amount of money to try to make it right. And 22,000, that's not anywhere near close to right. 40,000 isn't anywhere near close to right. It's all wrong. The fact that the investigation is still open and we haven't heard really any updates is concerning. It makes me feel almost like maybe there's an attempt to cover it up, which again, I'm not trying to put on a tinfoil hat, but that's not unheard of. And when it comes to OSHA, I'm really glad that they now have deemed cannabis a hazardous industry. So now they can finally step foot in these facilities, because they are incredibly dangerous, and the ventilation in most of them is not great. Definitely in those grow rooms, it's incredibly unsafe. It's very warm, which the plants need, but you need those respirators, you need those particle masks, and some places are being really open with them and they're letting people take as many as they want, and other places are allowing you to have one set of respirator filters a month, which is way too long to go between changing it. So we have a long way to go. We have a very, very long way to go. I'm glad that there's some action being taken, but this should have happened a lot sooner, much, much, much sooner, and way before anything happened to Lorna McMurray.
Thank you. We're speaking to Maddie Woodhams with UFCW 1445. You're a labor organizer. Is that correct? The correct title? Or if not,
yeah, union organizer.
Union organizer. Thank you. And it's an international labor union, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Sometimes I screw up on these things and I like to be correct. I like to get everything right, even when I'm wrong. Let's fix it. We're the Young Jerks. My name is Mike Crawford. I know that's correct. I know that's right. Few more things, because I wanted to ask, even about this situation with the Verano brands. They're refusing the voluntary recognition of UFCW 1445 to represent the workers, despite the workers' wishes. So that means there's going to be an election, correct? Is that what's going to happen next?
Yes, for part of the facility. Unfortunately, cultivation side is considered agriculture, so they have to go through an entirely different procedure. So the production side, so post-harvest, extractions lab, QA, packaging, kitchen, all of them, they are considered production, and they're going to have to go to an election unless Verano changes their mind and says, nope, never mind. We want to voluntarily do this. We don't want to prolong this inevitable process any longer.
And when would this kind of election would you expect? Is it like 30 days, 2 months? Does it happen quickly?
It's very fluid. Unfortunately, under the Trump administration, the NLRB was seriously cut back, and so they are very much inundated and overwhelmed. I do have a lot of empathy for that because I also can attest to the fact that we are very overwhelmed and inundated with a lot of information. So it can be pretty slow going, but it can be anywhere between 30 to 45 days after a petition is filed, but could be sooner if the company agrees, could be a lot longer if there are any kind of delays with NLRB. So it can be pretty fluid.
Thank you. How can people help? Like, how can the general public help you get recognized or help with this issue of Verano brands, or even, the greater movement for workers in cannabis, do you think?
I would say, first of all, supporting, this podcast because you have been a friend of UFCW for as long as you have been, sharing the news articles, commenting on their Instagram and on their Facebook, and, just making an uproar, a public outcry, just letting them know that what they're doing is wrong. There's no reason why they shouldn't have voluntarily recognized us. There's absolutely no reason why they should have told us no and said they're going to go through with the traditional process. There's no need for it. There's absolutely no need for it. The only thing that tells me is that it is a union busting tactic, and they are planning on doing whatever they can to make sure that we aren't in there. And that tells me that there's something in there that they're hiding that they don't want getting out.
We shall see. We're going to start looking to, I would also suggest to our legion of MSO fighters, the people that, aren't fans of these big corporations, these big moldy corporations, start looking into Verano brands for us. Because, they send me the videos and the complaints from Reddit and all those other places. I know a lot of people are doing it for the big two, Curaleaf as well as True Leaf. I get you sending me all the information and tips, but we got to expand it to definitely Verano brands and a lot of other big companies too. So I would suggest that as well. I want to thank you so much for coming on and doing the work that you do, Maddie, for workers in Massachusetts. Thank you so much for your time tonight on a Friday night. Is there any last words or anything that you want to promote or bring up or even discuss tonight that's even, that I haven't asked about?
No, the only thing I really want to say is thank you for bringing Lorna McMurray to light, and thank you for making sure that no one forgets her name, because I know that I will never forget her name.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the ongoing message here. Just like we're talking about my other friend, Michael Malta. Try to keep his name alive as long as possible, and that's exactly what we're doing for Lorna too. And it's funny when you mentioned that thing about Lorna 27, you're 27.
Yeah.
Michael Malta, when he passed away, he had a heart attack. He was around the same age that I am right now. Like, he was like my big brother. He was like 10 years ahead of me, and it's like I just think about that all the time now. It's like, man, I'm the same exact. I may have just passed the date. No, actually, I'm not. I'll be exactly, this year will be the year that I'll be, I believe, the same age that he was when he passed. So it's like, in a few months, it will be in April. So, that would be for me. But it's just so shocking, that
it is.
When someone you lose that's so full of life, and she was only 27, and you could tell that she was coming. Like, I've been, looking into her and following her, her Facebook and her friends and family. And I feel like I know her now. It's weird to have never met her, but, and especially when after you mentioned time, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Maddie, that True Leaf attacked her. They blamed the death on her. And then the family and friends said, Mike, take a look at these Facebook posts that I hadn't seen, because Lorna wasn't my friend on Facebook. I didn't know her when she was alive. And these are friends only posts on Facebook. And they exposed, and there were dates. It was time stamped, and there were posts like the day of, the next day, like right after when she collapsed those 2 times. Like, she spoke up and she stood up and she called out their bullshit. And it was so chilling to see this young lady who, from the grave, it was like from the grave, her words were striking back against their lies. And I always say, like, I keep this in my heart too when people lie about me, that in the end, truth will prevail. Like, in the end, I don't know. It just feels like that in this universe. Truth prevails in the end. Sometimes it takes 100 years, but something like I really feel like, and that was a perfect example of it. Like, they threw back the shit. They had no idea that her words were sitting there, and I was going to expose them again to the world. And I think they even feel like they got away with it, because those videos, some of our shows, didn't get the type of press that the original ones did. But I still think, again, this isn't over. Whether it takes a year, 2 years, there's going to be a lot more to come on this. And I want to thank you so much, Maddie, for bringing it up tonight and just allowing me to, kind of discuss it with you too, because it really feels comfortable talking to you. I would love to have you back on the show to talk like all of this stuff, like just different topics, even in cannabis, because I feel like you really get what's going on. Is that okay? Would the union allow that? I know sometimes we got to get permission and things, but you think that would be allowable?
Yeah, I can check in on that, but I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to speak on my own experiences, especially with having worked in the industry for as long as I did. I was there for just under 3 years, so I was one of the veteran people there, because there's just a revolving door. So, I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of knowledge, and
Yeah, you do.
I saw a lot of the BS that cannabis workers have to put up with.
Thank you so much too, because I know that you were actually instrumental in getting this show hooked up with the UFCW behind the scenes. So I love
Yep.
you. I can't wait to have you more on the show and to do more of this. Thank you so much for spending time with us on Friday night.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for listening to Verano's story and advocating for those workers, because they're in for a hell of a fight right now.
And you keep us updated on that. Like, we want to be, dropping any info you get, any
Okay.
updates, have you up on it. We're going to be digging into Verano brands now.
Okay.
I mean, I noticed one thing. They got Mike Tyson. Like, that's one of their celebrities. That's kind of weird too, isn't it?
I don't typically pay attention to celebrity endorsements, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah,
But
me neither. But when I saw that one, I was like, are you kidding me? You're the brand that took Mike Tyson.
I mean, they're all getting into it. Diddy, Wiz Khalifa, Mike Tyson. It's people who you don't really hear their name very much anymore. So I guess this is a way for them to keep their name alive,
Cash out,
is
right?
through shitty cannabis.
Yeah, Wiz Khalifa got mad this week, I think, because of some of the pushback he was getting from the community when he signed up with True Leaf, and I don't think he likes it. It's like, dude, pick a better company then.
There are so many other ones. There's so many, like, minority owned, social equity, like, small town growers, like anybody, literally anybody but these MSOs.
They don't pay as good. That's probably, I think that's just about the bottom line for these guys, even the celebs.
Yeah,
ruining their reputation. It's not a smart move, in my opinion.
No, yeah, no, I agree. I don't really understand why anybody would sign on to a company if they have not done their own research. We're living in the digital age where you can look up pretty much anything with a computer that's in your pocket. Like, it's all at your fingertips. All you have to do is just type in the name and everything comes up.
Thank you so much. It's Maddie Woodham. She's a UFCW 1445 organizer. Thank you so much for what you do, supporting workers. And thank you for coming on the show today. This is your first time on the show tonight too, right?
Yes, it is. Long time listener, first time guest.
That's what we like. You were like one of the you're perfect. You did a perfect what I call an A+ first appearance. Like you hit it out of the park. I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Well, thank you very much. And I look forward to spreading the good word even further.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Maddie.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
My name is Mike Crawford, and this is the Young Jerks you're listening to. We got a lot more tonight. We go to this. Grant Smith accuses us of lies and bullshit again. Oh man, I'm just gonna bring it up on Twitter so people can see the craziness. This is actually I'm not even signed in. Oh man, I'm on the wrong one. See, he thinks I'm doing sock puppet accounts, but what I actually do in sock, I'm going to show what I'm doing too, so people can see. If I was doing sock puppet accounts, would I be showing you what I'm doing on camera right now? Probably not. Let me see if I can even get it up. But I can't even get into it. Maybe I'm going to get into my NECANN account right now. I haven't done this on at home, but I am so busy right now that if you look at my accounts, I haven't even logged into my Mike Can Boston account, which has 11,000 followers on Twitter in how long? You think I'm doing sock puppet accounts? I'm on my phone. You see, now I'm in my Mike Can account because I'm on my computer. Like, I don't even go. This is what's so funny. The kid's accusing me of having sock puppet accounts when the only way I really access my Twitter is on my phone on the app, and it's always the Young Jerks. So I'm going to go to the Young Jerks right now on my computer so you can see what this crazy conspiracy theorist is talking about here. I'm trying to keep up, but this is it here. He says a fake. Oh no, here it is. Is Mike Crawford working with embattled? Again, I'm going to say there's only one person who keeps calling her embattled. It's kind of strange. With embattled CCG chair Shannon O'Brien behind the scenes to defend the chair's reputation in public, ? A fake Twitter account entirely dormant from October 2022 until this week that began defending Chair O'Brien earlier this week followed two accounts at the time it began doing so. Today, it only follows me. That other account it unfollowed sometime in the past few days is the Young Jerks. So that proves that it's me. Weird, dude. I would suggest that you probably know who it is, and you're hoping that I give you some evidence of who it is. And I'll bet on KOP's life that it's not me. I'd go to a court of law and say it's not me because I know it's not me. I don't do sock puppet accounts. I'm not shady like you are, dude. So that's the accusation, and I'm saying 100% it's not me. I don't know who it is. I do have my suspicions. I think he probably knows who it is. We're in his head. I mean, Christ, we don't care about Grant Smith. So I'm going on to the real shit of the night. Like, not that silly stuff. This stuff. The King of Pot. I'm gonna close the show tonight with a video of Michael Malta speaking, and it may have been the end. No, actually, no, it was 2013. 2013, the year he passed away. And this was kind of a tough time for him because he had been at a company for decades, and it wasn't a company, a nonprofit, a scientific corporation. Think of it as a scientific society doing education, publishing. He's an operations guy. He's handling all their office stuff, all their, when they sold the books and the publications to the public, he's the one shipping them, doing a lot of that back end stuff. And when Amazon came along, I believe they took a lot of that business and kind of outsourced it to Amazon. So they decided to do some layoffs in his department. And my understanding is that they were going to lay off his subordinate, who he really loved and who he knew needed the job. So Michael went to them and said, "You can't fire him. I'll leave instead." And not thinking that they would actually go through with it. He didn't think that they would get rid of him. And they said, okay. And I think it did kind of break his heart. Michael Malta was someone but he was also excited. There was a part of him that was very excited that he was going to actually get to do full time with this persona and this activism that he was doing on the King of Pot. Michael Malta was a very special person. And some of the stories you're going to hear an example just from his daughter about things that he did that no one else would do. And you're also going to hear him explain a story about how he went into Best Buy for a job during this time when he was leaving his only job in his life after 30 years. He was basically doing an early retirement and maybe looking for a little extra Christmas money, maybe not even, caring if he got the job. And he tells a story, and you're going to see his former activism, how good he was, how he affected and touched people. He touched me. When he tells the story that we're going to play from 2013, this was something that, he was sharing the plight of myself. I was going through some really tough times at that time, economically and financially and job-wise. And it feels really good to be where I am right now, like 10 years later, where he wanted me to be. But those are the toughest times of my life. And for him to kind of do that little story, I think he really kind of felt what a lot of people were going through. And he was what Michael would do is he would use his privilege to help people, to stand up for people. And just like he did with his friend at work, the gentleman you're going to see in this video that we're going to play right at the beginning, he stood up for him and basically put his own neck on the line. Who does that? Michael and I should have been in competition, but we weren't. We were never in competition. It was because Michael had so much love. He would never allow us to be in competition. We were always working together, even when we weren't. And at the end, we were finally working truly together. Like we were one team, one party, under one corp. It was just amazing to be that way. But for so long, people tried to divide us, and we'd secretly go around them to work together. And it's kind of what's missing in this movement. You see people making up shit about people. Weak as shit. But Michael was special. Another thing I just want to mention, about him, he helped so many people. And he stood up at a time when, when I talk about his workplace. So he's working at a scientific organization. They know what he's doing. They know he's an activist. They know he's got a website. They know he calls himself the King of Pot. He makes a deal with this organization that he will never mention their name and never put them in any of his videos if they allow him to continue his activism. And another concession he got at the workplace, and this is pre-medical cannabis. This is when, I was in looking for work at that point. You would never tell an employer or a future employer that you use cannabis. You just would not bring that up. He negotiated so he could smoke on the roof. He had a medical reason. They knew about it. They considered it medical cannabis. They allowed him to, on his lunch break, go on their roof and smoke cannabis, where I smoked it many times with him while he was working. This is a type of activist that Michael was. And this was before today, where this is probably more commonplace. People expect this. But Michael was a leader. He was educating everyone. And not just on the internet, not just at the Freedom Rally, but in his daily life, at his workplace, his neighbors, the person he would see at Best Buy. He's a special person. And I am so happy tonight that Michael Malta was nominated for this Lifetime Achievement. It's the New England Cannabis Convention Awards. You can find a link. We're posting on the bottom of the ticker there. You can find a place to vote for him. There's like 5 or 6 great people up for it this year. Danny Danko, a friend of ours, we like him. He's up for it. Kim Napoli, very deserving. We've had her on the show. She's a long time kick-ass woman. She's been doing a lot for a long time. She's also nominated for it, Lifetime Achievement. So congratulations to everyone. I'm also nominated for it, which is awesome. But what I'm most happy about is Michael Malta is getting that recognition. And I suggest everyone vote for him. I would, always like your votes. We're nominated for a bunch of other categories too. Best podcast, best news source, and I'm up for Massachusetts Activist of the Year. I'm also up for the Lifetime Achievement. My dream, I'm not going to say it, but you can probably figure it out. Last year, they gave 2 people a Lifetime Achievement. I would love to go in with Michael Malta. That would be my dream. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it doesn't even matter if it happens. the bottom line is Michael was recognized. After 9 years, people still talking about it, and that makes me happy. And I know it makes him happy. And that's what matters. And I really hope what will make me the most happy is if Michael Malta wins. Like if he gets that award, I'll be very happy. And last year we were nominated for a bunch of awards, including I was nominated for Lifetime Achievement. I didn't win. It was totally fine, but I didn't go last year. You know, a number of reasons, but I'm very busy, COVID, This year I will be there. And there's two reasons I will be there. One is for Michael Malta, to honor Michael Malta, the King of Pot. So I hope to see everyone at the New England Cannabis Awards this year. And the reason, number one, is Michael Malta. The reason, number two, is Lorna McMurray. I want to go to represent the workers and what happened with Lorna this year and all the people who have been voting for us and supporting our work this year, because I feel like the mission for us is there more than ever. So I'm going to be there for those two folks, and I'm going to be proud and happy to be there. It's not going to be a celebration so much because, I will be celebrating Michael Malta. There's no doubt about it. But there's going to be a part of me that's going to be, missing him, honoring him, and remembering that, his family is still missing him. I wish I had been around Jackie and Kristen, his two daughters, who are awesome over the last few years, but I've seen them do so well, and I know he's very proud of them. They're both happily married with kids now, and it's very exciting to see that end of it. But again, I will be a little bit wanting to bring some attention to the workers and what's going on with Lorna McMurray as well. So I want to thank everyone for supporting us, and I really appreciate that you voted and you got nominated Michael Malta for this Lifetime Achievement. We're going to play, to close the show, we're going to play the video of Michael Malta when he goes into Best Buy and applies for some seasonal work that is like temp work that's not even full-time at Best Buy, and they tell him he wants to take a drug, that he needs to take a drug test. You're going to hear what Michael does, and it's great. And you're also, to open it up, we're also going to play some audio from Michael's daughter, Kristen. We're going to play the whole voicemail that she left us late last night from work on her third shift. She's a nurse. His daughters kick ass. They're both like very kick ass people, and it's no surprise they come from the best, Michael Malta. So you're going to hear Kristen Malta. Oh, I say Kristen Malta. Her real name now is Kristen Imhoff. You'll hear that. She's married Peter. Peter's a great guy. And the other daughter, Jackie, has also recently married a great guy named Dennis. So they have two. I love the guys too. Like I love the women in this family just as much as the guys, Dennis and Peter and Kristen and Jackie. They are just the best people. So we're going to hear the voicemail from his daughter about this award and what she thinks about it, and also a little story about her and her dad. And then you're going to hear KLP himself. I also want to thank the folks who posted photos today, Scott Madeline, Donna Hackett, Jen Marie. And I want to thank the folks who took the photos that we're sharing. Some of them are mine. Some of them are a lot of them are Jen Marie. She takes great photos, as well as Valerie Malta. And I'm sure some other folks are missing, but I want to thank everyone for sharing those photos tonight that we're going to share on our video and our tribute to Michael Malta tonight. I want to thank everyone.
Michael Malta, the King of Pot, KOP. Don't forget again, go to Wizard website. I did repeat that. I don't want to repeat it again. If you want me to, I'm going to repeat it again to you. Okay, www.kopproductions.com. You understand what I mean?
Hi, Mike. This is Kristen Imhoff. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to thank you for having me on the show to speak on behalf of my dad, Michael Malta, known to many in the movement as the King of Pot. I also want to thank you for campaigning for him and keeping his name alive since his death almost a decade later. We lost my dad to a massive heart attack in 2013. He had suffered with depression, anxiety, OCD for most of his life, and marijuana helped him get through each day and be the father, friend, husband, and person that everyone wishes to have in their life. He dedicated more than half of his life to the marijuana movement, and I know he touched so many people's lives and even helped save some people's lives. specifically his friends from the movement who reached out to me directly telling me he did so. He had the biggest heart, and he made everyone who he met feel like they were the most important person in this world. He dedicated hours to research on medical marijuana, created podcasts and shows, was an active participant in the Boston Freedom Rally, and even made it on stage and got to speak one year, and he had a blast with you. He thought the world of you. If anyone ever had a stigma on marijuana use, all you had to do is speak to my dad and he would change your mind. I was just telling my friends how when I was in 10th grade, we were assigned persuasive essays. He was all excited and helped me write mine on legalizing marijuana. This was 20 years ago, mind you, when you couldn't even mention marijuana. Little did I know we had to read our essays in front of the class. So while everyone is reading theirs on how they would persuade their parents to let them get a dog or belly ring, here I am reading why marijuana should be legal. Needless to say, I did get an A, and my dad raved about it to the world. If only he could have seen where we are at today, that he had a huge part in decriminalizing and legalizing marijuana, and then to know that he was nominated for the Lifetime Achievement Award. He would be so proud of all of you and of himself. I just wish he got to feel that proudness and see it all here on Earth. My dad was the most amazing person, and I'm not just saying this because he's my dad, but because he deserves it. He truly put his whole heart and soul into the movement, and besides his family, the movement was his life. Thank you for having me. I wish you all well, and congratulations to you all.
And I want to thank all you guys for supporting me over the years, that's for sure. It's, one person that made it happen in the Boston area for me was Mike Cannon. If it wasn't for him, you guys wouldn't have probably known of me because I was doing a lot of shit nationally and he didn't even know of me. And you already know that story, but I hope to be able to do a lot more with him in the future, and I hope now that my new life brings on things that I could help people like himself and people like other people I have in my life that are very, very close to me. So with that, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Mike can say, my farewell to my company on video here. I don't know what else to say except that it's been a long run. It's been a long run, folks, man. But KOP's going somewhere great. In fact, I got a funny story I want to tell you. Let me just bounce out of all the sentimentality here. Let's get back to who I am. Who am I? I'm the king of pot. Well, let me tell you what I did. I was in Best Buy this past weekend. All the Christmas rush, all those drones going out there buying buying gifts they don't have money to buy. But, they're buying them and they're putting on their credit card. So I'm in the line and I'm waiting and I see this sign in Best Buy. You know what it says? It says $10 an hour, $12 an hour, I don't know what it was, to stock shelves, but it was only a temporary thing, okay? Which means I'm going to go in there a couple of days a week and I'm going to stock shelves, okay? So out of kicks and giggles, KOP walks up to the cash register, pays for the little video game, and then asks, hey, what's about this? Oh, they were all excited. Oh, yeah. Let me get somebody. Some young kid comes out, I say young, 30s, and he looks at me and he says, oh, come in my office. I go into his office, I sit down, gives me the application, I get the application. He says, you can take it with you or you can fill it out here. I said, no, I'll fill it out here. So I start filling out the application. He's talking to me. He's saying, oh, you're leaving your job, retiring. Oh, this isn't a full-time. I know it's not a full-time. I just want to do this for a few days. This isn't a Best Buy job. Okay, yeah, I understand that. Filled out the application, and I give it back to the gentleman. I said, let me know. And started to get up. He goes, oh, one more thing. I said, one more thing. So I sat back down. So he hands me another piece of paper. Let me show you what I did. So he hands me the paper. I look at it. I get up. That's what I did, folks. I'm looking at this paper. You know what this paper was? I'm going to tell you. I said to him, and I quote, I said to him, you got to be fucking kidding me. Well, when I said that, his jaw opened. He said, something wrong? I said again, you got to be fucking kidding me. I go, this isn't even a Best Buy job. This is a stock job. And he goes, yeah, what's the problem? I said, you see this? I said, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? I smoke marijuana. I'm the king of pot. That's what I do. I smoke marijuana. So why would I want to fill out this drug test? Well, meanwhile, the guy's like, He's got his mouth hanging open. And I'm staring right at him. He doesn't really know what to say. You know? I kind of felt bad for him, but I said, you got to be kidding me. I'm the king of pot. And you want me to take a drug test. So after that, I just said, you know, forget about it. I threw the thing on the ground. His mouth's hanging open, meanwhile, while I turned around and started walking out. And as I got like a little ways out, I kind of looked back, and I could just see him sitting there in like awe. He was in awe. He was in complete awe. Because I don't think anybody has done that to him. I don't think anybody does stuff like that. But you know what? I'm not phony. So I'm going to, if I have to lecture or educate him, I will, right on in a job.